So I like learning how to do new things. That's why I have a million hobbies. It's why my career looks like being a model slash belly dancer slash yoga teacher slash marketing specialist. Arguably I like learning how to do new things a little bit too much, but we're not going to get into that in this video. I do have a couple of new skills that I'm working on this year. Photography and videography among them. Those are two things that I'm starting pretty much from zero with. And because I've gone through this process so many times of learning new things, I have a really different perspective on it than I used to. So today I just wanted to kind of talk about that and share where I'm at with it now. So the first stage of learning is being really freaking awful at it. Unless you're like naturally gifted or you have a skill set that's already pretty similar to what you're trying to learn, you will really struggle at first. You will take forever to make the most basic things. It will be such a struggle. Your creations will not look like what you would have expected. And that is hard on the ego, but you have to kind of like find a way to stick with it, maybe even enjoy it, maybe celebrate your failures somehow, because that stage will be comparably very short in the grand scheme of the amount of time that you're going to work on this skill. So just keep going through that, and then you will enter the much longer stage of just being really freaking mediocre. You'll have less practical experience than a lot of people. You'll have fewer concrete skills than people that have been doing it for longer. You won't stand out from your peers very easily. And that is arguably even harder than the first stage to get through. A lot of people get really discouraged. Maybe they don't progress as quickly as they would like to. You know, you may not meet your own expectations. Some people feel like because they've been doing it for a certain length of time, they don't really need to keep working on their skills, so they might start plateauing. And all I can say about that is stay humble and just keep working at it if you want to really get to that stage of excellence. And a big part of that is consistency. Try to make it as close to a daily practice as you can, or at least a few times a week. I get that you may have like a full-time job and or a family, lots of obligations that make it really hard to put the time in. But if you can put a lot of little chunks of time in daily or weekly, you will progress a lot faster than you will if you can put in like 4 hours, but only once every few months. So consistency is key. And I think that the most important thing if you're struggling with consistency is to try to find a way to make it fun. Because if you are really struggling to get started, then you're not going to see the results that you would have if you are able to put that time in regularly. And there's only so much advice I can give you about how to do that, because your mileage will vary based on your personality and the skill that you're trying to learn. An example of something that worked for me was when I was starting out with dancing, I really struggled with putting in regular practice time outside of my classes. And what I realized was that I was approaching it in this way that was really like kind of intimidating me. Like I felt like I had to have like a 2-hour chunk of time set aside, and I had to have like a checklist of the things that I wanted to work on. And if I didn't, you know, have this practice time that looked exactly like I thought it was supposed to, then I wasn't like a real dancer, and I would just get discouraged, and it was hard to even approach it at all. And what was kind of a game changer for me was I just kind of dropped the to-do list, dropped the schedule, and I would just put on some music that I was jamming out to at the time, kind of like something that I could tap my toe to. And I would just start moving to it and just see what happened. And sometimes that would go on for like 15 to 30 minutes. And sometimes I would just really get into it and I would go for like 2 or 3 hours. And letting go of those expectations had the effect of making dance more approachable to me. It made just practicing in my room by myself way less intimidating. And now I'm at the point where I can have that kind of checklist of things that I want to work on, and it's not such a big deal to get started. But, you know, that took a lot of personal exploration to find that, and it took trying out a lot of different things that didn't really work for me. So you just kind of have to experiment and get to know yourself. You do need to set goals that you can track. And we're not talking about your New Year's resolution that you forget in the first week of February. I'm talking about short-term goals and long-term goals that are measurable. You need to try to break them down into little chunks, like actionable things that you really feel like you can achieve in that amount of time. And you just need to keep track of them. I recommend writing your goals down, putting them somewhere where you can see them. And as you hold yourself accountable, you may struggle to adhere perfectly, but you will see more results than if you're just aimless. For example, we'll just keep going with the dance examples. When I moved to LA, it was like just before I started dancing professionally. I was feeling really isolated from my dance community that I'd had in the Bay Area. And so I just wasn't really performing very often. I kind of felt like I was slipping on some of my skills. So I set a goal for myself. I'm going to dance once a month in front of people for the next year. And I don't think I was perfect on that. I think I maybe missed a couple months. But what happened was just being out there led to me making the connections that ultimately got me my first gigs as a professional dancer and got me to the point where I was getting offered work regularly as a professional dancer. And that wasn't my goal. I wasn't trying to go out there to meet people to become a gigging dancer. But those opportunities probably would not have come my way if I'd just been kind of aimless and like waiting to see what happened. So tracking your goals are super important. And then the last thing I want to say is find a mentor. We live in an age where you can learn how to do so many things from YouTube, and I am about that. I love YouTube. But having someone that you know that knows you, that is kind of watching your progress, and kind of keeping an eye on you will make a huge difference. People ask me like all the time, how did you get started with belly dancing? How did you get this as a job? And that story always starts with, I got a really good teacher. I kind of lucked out. She was my first teacher, but she pushed me. I was afraid to start performing. She told me to do it anyway, and I did, and it was good for me. She noticed when I wasn't in class, when I wasn't putting in the work. I could ask her questions, tell her about things I was struggling with, and it made a huge difference with keeping me motivated and keeping me going. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing about getting good at a skill, is you have to keep going. You may get burned out. You may need to take a break once in a while. I am a big advocate for taking breaks when you need to take breaks. But you have to come back to it. Find a fresh perspective. Always come back to it. And sooner or later, I can't tell you how long it will take you, but if you stick with it, you will get there. So that's my perspective. That's where I'm at with it. I've been kind of enjoying these more casual videos lately. I sort of took a break from making YouTube videos, partially because I was going through some personal stuff, and then partially because I just wanted to work on some skills. And at that point, I felt like it was easier to fully commit to working on those video related skills rather than like half work on them and half make videos. But this year, one of my big goals is to post more regularly, and I want to take some classes, find some mentors, and work towards more complex videos over time. I need to learn some basic editing skills. I need to learn how to do lighting. I need to learn how to get more comfortable with my camera. I have a really long way to go, but I'm very excited about it. I feel good about it. So if you want to see what I come out with from here, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to comment. I always love reading your comments. Thumbs up if you like this video and want to help my placement in this algorithm-driven world that we live in. Or thumbs down. I mean, you know, I don't think people are really trying to help me when they do that, but it still counts positively in the algorithm, so I'll take it, whatever, sure. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day.